into the new spring.
Into the unknown.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're talking about the Loki show, Mike. Is there a female Loki? Is there a Owen Wilson? I don't know what's going on with this. We're going to look at the photos.
Wait, are you telling me Loki's getting his own TV show? This is the first I'm hearing.
I don't think it is. We're also going to talk about the James Bond movie moving 7 months backwards and what that might mean for some Comic-Cons and other shows we're doing.
Okay.
And then lastly, the Batmobile. I think you're all here for the Batmobile, so we're gonna talk about this new hot rod, the Bat and the Furious. I'm calling it right now, Mike.
The Bat and the Furious, the sweet, sweet, sweet Batmobile.
That's right.
Also, images. It's always great to get images to talk about on an audio form podcast. So we can only assume that since it's been a few days since it's released, that you've seen them already. So do some Googling before we get to that topic,
or just go to our show notes on our website. All the links are here. All 3 photos for you.
All 3 delicious photos. Yeah. So I'm curious, since Chris here, our humble leader, edits the show, I'm curious if my long drawn out into the unknown tone interrupted the beginning of the show or not.
No, I can cut you off anytime I want to. I can make it sound like I'm smart and you're dumb anytime I need to in this show, Mike. Don't you worry. I know you don't go back and listen to them, so I have a little freedom to do this.
Occasionally I do. I think everybody out there has that weird feeling when they hear their own voice. They're like, that's not what I sound like. That's not what I sound like in my head.
Right. We always sound much better. I was told last weekend at C2E2 that my voice in real life is much lower than that on the show. So I don't know if the timbre of the audio on the podcast changes me up a little bit, or if it's just me and my freakishly high energy I come into these shows with does that. I don't know which one it is. So.
It's like podcasting voice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did voiceover for the Super Bowl commercials my company did, and I can throw my voice pretty regularly in a different direction. I mean,
you're a regular Tom Kenny. We're gonna get you casted on the next episode of SpongeBob in no time.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. We were watching Cake Wars last night, and they actually did SpongeBob cakes for the 4 teams, and Tom Kenny was one of the judges.
That's great.
So he was on there doing his SpongeBob voice.
It's probably really easy to get people like that into the studio, because it's just like, oh, we need a little bit of your time today. You're already really wealthy, so any sort of amount of money we offer you is not really going to motivate you. But how about free cake from people competing to make the best cakes? And it's just like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll get to eat cake.
$50 and some cake. Let's go do it. I'd sign up for that, Mike. I don't know about you, but I definitely
wouldn't, Chris?
Yeah, exactly.
Who wouldn't?
Anything you've been doing this weekend? I mean, we don't have. There's a big blank space glaring at me where we normally put down what we do, and I'm like, yeah, I understand that feeling. So.
Well, we have some family in town this week, so we've been doing the normal circuit of entertaining guests as they come into Los Angeles. But after living out here for a while now, if people come out here on their second or third visit, you've kind of hit all the landmarks already. So it's just like, all right, welcome guests. Now it's time to see how we live our lives. Here's the couch that we spend 90% of our time on, and we're gonna put something on the TV to binge.
You're telling me you're just like me too, all the way across the country? Oh my God, I don't believe it.
Exactly. So there's a few things that I've had to kind of like wait to watch. I think the season 3 of Castlevania just dropped this week. Very highly anticipated. I talk about this all the time on the show. So if you haven't already, go start watching Castlevania on Netflix. No spoilers here today for sure, because I haven't had a chance to pick it up and watch it. But I have been slowly cranking through the Clone Wars on Disney Plus. I have to say I'm very proud that I've finally made it to the part in the list where, for the most part, I'm just sequentially watching the episodes in order.
So season 3.
It is just so wild that these aired so far out of date, because originally I thought it was a situation of just like, this is just our cartoon network, if you will. Not actually saying Cartoon Network, but a network that airs cartoons. They don't usually care if stuff airs out of order. They're like, oh, kids are dumb. They're not going to really be tracking what's happening. But like they often do like 3-episode arcs, and there's like these arcs have been like separated by season. So like you could have been watching like the first 2 episodes of an arc, and then you have to wait a whole year to see the 3rd episode of the arc in another like middle of the season. It's just weird and bizarre. So I'm happy to finally be out of that, because every time an episode went in, I'd have to open up my phone, open up the little tab I had, and be like, okay, what episode am I on? What episode? Okay, where do I need to jump to? I think I have like one more episode jump that I have to do, and then it's just smooth sailing on from there. So I think are we on the 2nd week of the last season?
The 3rd episode just aired, I believe.
Okay, so I probably, if it's a 10-episode season, which I believe it is,
yeah,
I have 7 more weeks, and I think I can catch up in 7 weeks. So I'm looking forward to. I think we should do some sort of like spoiler cast or some sort of retrospective for all of the Clone Wars in general, kind of once it all wraps up, and we can kind of just talk about it in unison.
It's going to be interesting because, like you said, I watched all of these shows live, which is very interesting for everyone else I've talked to who is now watching it through Disney Plus, right? Due to the access. So I think it's going to be interesting to take our how we experience this and put it like, yeah, this is how Mike's doing it, right? You get to actually watch them in order. I didn't have a choice. I was like, just kind of, hey, here's the shows. Good luck. While they were airing on Friday night. So I'm very excited. I'd love to do that, actually. So
I think the only other thing that I can add to this is I learned a little like inside lingo over the weekend that because the original Clone Wars that did air on actually Cartoon Network, right?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, and it was outside of Adult Swim. So I would imagine, if I remember right, it was probably within those 1 or 2 hours just before Adult Swim took over. I learned from some people that kind of worked within that realm over at Cartoon Network over the weekend that on the inside they like to call that Teen Swim. So it wasn't quite Adult Swim, it wasn't Cartoon Network, it was like Teen Swim. So I guess there was some language, and there was definitely an idea of, if we're airing this show, just before Adult Swim, we can be a little bit more edgy, because I'm to the part where they have like, I don't know if it's like Darth Maul's brother or whatever it is, but they bring his kind of race of people back into it, and he just like straight up strangled somebody on the screen. And then I'm so used to watching like so many cartoons that are aimed towards younger audiences, I'm like, okay, just before this guy dies or before he falls to the ground, they're gonna like do like a camera cut, because they do that all the time, and they didn't.
No.
The camera was just there as he like suffocated and fell to the ground, and I was like, all right, we are definitely in Teen Swim.
Yeah, so start counting how many necks start snapping, Mike. You're gonna lose track really quickly in this. But yeah, Savage Opress, you're on the planet Dathomir, which is actually a main planet in the Fallen Order. You'll get a visit in that game, Mike, whenever you get around to getting to another planet or two. So I hope you like it, because you get to play a little bit of it on there, which is really cool to see how they were able to take some of this stuff and put it forward there. Other than that, I mean, I'm excited. We talked about this a little bit before the show. After we get off the show, I'm going to go watch Onward, the new Pixar movie with Spider-Man and Star-Lord teaming up. And I think the whole premise of the movie is my dad is just legs.
My dad is legs.
My dad is just legs of the movie, so I'm very excited for that. And I went out, and the weather's getting warmer out here in the middle west, whatever the middle of the country here. So I've been enjoying some windows open, some sunshine, going to the mall. I bought some me, Mike, I bought some pop vinyls yesterday.
Of course you did.
I did, and I'm looking at 2 of the 3 of them right now, and I just realized they're both glow in the dark, and I didn't realize how much this glow in the dark trend had taken off. So I started counting, right before we got on this. I think I got to like 17 glow in the dark stickers on the one in my office here. I'm like, that's wild. So if you like some varieties on your pop vinyls, they make a regular and probably a glow in the dark version as well.
You're gonna need to get a daylight temperature light bulb and just like charge up all your pops and just shut the light off, and then you can actually see like, oh, I didn't know that one was glow in the dark.
Fun fact: I actually I think we talked about this. I installed a new fixture in my office with 3 lights that do not point downwards, because I hate direct light on me, and they shine on the pop. So I could definitely put in a UV bulb to do that, and then just hopefully when it gets dark enough, I can just kill them and they'll
That's right. That's right, kids. When you grow up and move out of the house and have your own money and own responsibilities, you can buy ultraviolet lights to make your toys glow on the wall. This is what being an adult is really about. This is the dream.
I'm going to be honest. I got 5 lights that change color to any color I want in the corner that I'm ready to put in across this house. So don't tempt me, Mike. Do not tempt me. I will do it.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Other than that, let's jump into the news here a little bit because I'm always excited. March brings actually a Comic-Con with pop vinyls that I like to collect called Emerald City Comic-Con. Are you familiar with Emerald City?
Yeah, that's the one of the other, I would say, top 5 cons in the country up in Seattle.
Yes, and Emerald City, abbreviated ECCC. It's known for having that. What's that big tower in Seattle called? I can't think of the name of it.
The Space Needle?
Yeah, Space Needle, and it's green. Like, everything's green on it. So I've got some pop vinyls that are very, that have come out during that time that are really cool looking. Probably, actually, most of them I've taken out of the box have come out at Emerald City. So I don't know why they say them. But, sadly, 2020's Emerald City Comic-Con has been effectively postponed until summer because of the COVID-19 virus spreading around, and to be safe, these conventions where a lot of people come together, much like C2E2, hopefully I'm out of the window for this thing. People are they don't want to spread any virus, and for safety purposes, they've decided to postpone until summer, when hopefully some of this has died down.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out what's the phrase, what's wagging the dog's tail, because I was keeping track of this Emerald City Comic-Con stuff throughout the week because, as you all know, I go to San Diego Comic-Con every year, and I'm just okay, I'm trying to kind of gauge the climate, because you have to do a lot of pre-planning before you go to San Diego Comic-Con, and it's in July, so you got to start planning here soon. Usually they do their hotel registration in about a month, so I'm sure a lot of people over there are sweating in San Diego over this crisis that's kind of taking on the United States. So originally, Emerald City Comic-Con was still going to go on. They made a statement, I want to say earlier in the week, that said Emerald City Comic-Con is still going, but if you're worried about the crisis, if you want to stay home, we are offering 100% free refunds for anybody that wants a refund on their ticket, and hopefully we'll see you again next year. And the next thing I heard was that they had to cancel because they had thousands of people want their tickets back. So I'm curious, did they cancel it because they were worried, or were they canceled because no one's going to show up, we have to cancel it anyway? Either way, it's been canceled.
But it's not canceled, it's they're moving it to summer. So
yeah.
ECCC will still happen. It's just June or July, whenever they can figure out whenever they can get a convention center back, I assume. But we talked about this, and not only this Comic-Con is getting affected. Will San Diego be affected? What's that look like in 4 or 5 months? 4 months?
Yeah. And I mean, also another big festival that's 3 weeks long, so I would say even bigger to postpone, is South by Southwest. Yes. Sometimes we do get a little bit of news out of South by Southwest because there's a music week, there's a technology week, but then there's also an entertainment week. So sometimes there's movie stuff that happens down there. So I'm surprised to see that that's been postponed.
Yeah, that's been postponed. I mean, a lot of their speakers, like Kumail Nanjiani, Chris Evans, I know we're speaking there, so they're any news we were going to get out of them is definitely pushed back a little bit as well. And I just talked about going to see Onward, and it had a low opening this week, and not because it's a bad movie, but probably because people are not going out to the movie theaters to hang out with crowds of people. So again, the thing is, wash your hands, be safe, avoid touching, hands, mouth, face, all that other stuff. But, I mean, do you think, our last topic here in the show actually comes back to this. Do you think any other events or big things that we look forward to will be postponed? Did we not say the Disney Plus event was canceled, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was, they had some sort of Disney Plus European
the launch,
debut that I believe the technology is safe from the virus because it is not human flesh. So I'm sure the switch for the streaming service is still being turned on as normally over there. But yeah, I guess whatever event they were doing. So I'm just curious, at what point does kind of the crisis, if you will, peak? Does the actual infection rate need to peak and start dropping down, or does just the news cycle need to peak and stop dropping down for the festivals to come back online? who knows? San Diego Comic-Con definitely has a big decision to make. It's a big beast of a convention to postpone. I can't imagine that that's something that could be postponed. It almost makes more sense for them just to cancel it for a year, and then just because it's a huge machine that you have to get back up and running. So we'll have to see. We'll keep everybody updated, and make sure you stay safe out there.
Yeah, stay safe. And then if you have any plans for these conventions, maybe follow them a little closer. Make sure you don't need to reschedule your flights or anything else like that when it comes up.
The one tip I would give people, wear zip up hoodies, because then you can unzip the hoodie, put your hand into the pocket, and now you kind of got like a mitt. You got like a little makeshift like mitten, and you can like open up and pull doors. You don't have to touch anything.
I think the Winter Soldier, the Bucky mask from the first half of that movie is really going to come in a play.
I thought you were going to say the metal arm. That might be a good way to avoid germs too. Polish that arm when you get home.
Yeah, cover the other one with a sleeve and put the other one with that. No, the mask, man, the mask. For that. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, coming up here, I didn't know this. I don't know much about this, but there's a Justice League Dark Apokolips War, the animated movie, right, coming out very shortly, I believe. The trailer debuted this week, and what I did not know is that this culminates a 6-year, 20 animated film journey that started in Justice League War, which is impressive at the end of the day. But I have no idea what 20 films are connected to this.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on here. I feel like I have not been tracking this for over 20 films, that's for sure. But I do feel like the last couple Warner Brothers DC animated movies that have come out have had very similar art styles. Everything's kind of slowly evolved from the Bruce Timm style over years. It seems like if you take an anime character and you take a Bruce Timm character, kind of somewhere in the middle is kind of where the DC animated movies have landed. So I guess maybe if you kind of track the art style over the last couple of years, maybe you can find those 20 films. But when I was watching this trailer, I did see Constantine quite a bit in this group here. And I was like, oh yeah, I do remember Constantine from the last trailer we watched. I did see a big text splash up on the screen that said a DC Universe original, or maybe a DC Universe film, but they're definitely saying that this is a streaming movie debuting. So, like I'm saying with all things DC Universe, I can't wait to watch it once it comes to HBO Max.
Well, also this is for the 4K and the Blu-ray release. This will be a home release for those people who do want that or want to redeem the digital. And I did find, while you were talking, I did some digging here. Apparently, there's a DC animated original movies and DC animated movie universe. And apparently there are 14 films and then like 6 supplementals, kind of things. Like they include Justice League Dark, what was it? The Death of Superman, Reign of Superman, Son of Batman. There's a whole list here. So I'm going to put this in the link here from Wikipedia. But I mean, I didn't know they were all connected, to be completely honest. I mean, is that sad we kind of missed that a little bit, or like they just kind of, I feel like they put these out every like 3 months. Hey, here's a new movie. I wouldn't blame ourselves if they really wanted us to know it was all connected. They probably would have found a better way to let us all know in the trailers that these were all kind of unified stories. As far as I can tell from the trailers that we've talked about on the shows, they've just all kind of just seemed like standalone, like one-off one-shots. And why wouldn't we believe that? Just because every other DC Universe movie or our DC comic book movie has been like that for my entire existence. So I have a feeling, like you said, some of these 20 films are like supplemental, probably very similar to kind of like how comic book events go. You have like your mainline movies and then also your one offshoots that you probably don't have to watch to get all of the story. So yeah, there's probably some categorization that needs to happen here with these 20 films. Yeah, and then also, hey, what's the watching order for these? Make it easy on us here. But apparently, starting with the 2014 Justice League War, a lot of them have had the same voice actors if they've been in the same movies. Like, I'm looking here, there's Rosario Dawson, Nathan Fillion, even at one point Alan Tudyk was in it. So they've got some big character names here for voicing. And was it Rainn Wilson is Lex Luthor from The Office? So I'm interested to kind of maybe if I get some time, go back and start watching these. But I'm not getting DC Universe, Mike. I'm not doing it. I'll find another way to watch these, but I just thought that's. I thought by the time I get to Apokolips War, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Maybe, once it's completed, we can have a whole. You're like this, Mike. You like when it's done, you want to watch it, right? You don't want to watch it in the middle of it. So.
Oh yeah, we're in the binging culture now, man.
Yeah. So I think that'd be cool. Some background noise. What's going on? But a big character on Justice League is Batman. You know this, right? He's one of the big three. I don't know. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, shocked, gasped. I've never heard of this Batman. Wait, you said he's a bat and he's a man?
No, it's Man-Bat.
No, okay.
Sorry, I know it's confusing. I understand. But Batman, the movie's coming out. They're filming it right now. They've got Robert Pattinson as Batman. We saw the outfit the other day, and then what did they immediately do with it? Film outside with it, right? So this week we have the new Batmobile. So guess what they're probably going to be doing with it this week?
They're probably going to be filming
outside with it. Yeah. So, but they're not going to be shooting from the Batmobile. Okay, that's only Ben Affleck's Batman. He kills. This one doesn't. But I'm going to take a look at this, and the Bat and the Furious. This is a souped up hot rod, Mike.
This, honestly, when I saw this, I had two thoughts in my head. I was like, there's going to be a small fraction of people that are probably going to be furious just because it doesn't typically look like a normal Batmobile that you see. And then I looked at it and I was like, this is the coolest thing I have ever seen. And I'm just like, I'm so far from like a car guy. I have like basic knowledge, of cars in general. I can fix some problems that may happen under the hood thanks to my dad, who was much more of a manly man than I ever will be. But man, I look at this car and it is just sick. It's got this like giant engine that's totally exposed, just sitting in the back of the car. It looks like a muscle car. These pictures have been out for a couple of days, and I haven't seen any person on the internet that has specifically tagged this car to a pre-existing car that's out there, and I feel like car heads would be able to notify it really quickly. So I think the coolest thing about this is I think it's a totally custom build. I think Matt Reeves was just like, I want this Batmobile to look like a muscle car, but don't just go out and just get any old muscle car. Like, we got Warner Brothers Hollywood budget here. Just make a car from the ground up, because I don't want it to be like any other car. So it definitely feels a lot wider than any other car. I don't know if it's just the fenders in the front that just kind of like flare out, but I tried to bring this into Photoshop and kind of brighten all three of the different photos up, and you can't really get any extra detail out of doing that, unfortunately. So yeah, I can't wait, like you said, till they start shooting with this out in public and we can get a better look at it.
Yeah, so I mean, here's a couple things. I mean, this is based on, for anyone who doesn't know, this is created from the ground for the movies, but it's based on Neal Adams' Batmobile he drew from the 70s to like 87. I've included a link here in our notes to look at that, and it looks kind of like a Pontiac GTO a base model. And I only say this, Mike, I'm not a car guy either, but a Pontiac GTO, do you remember the Punisher movie with Thomas Jane in 2004?
Yes.
He drove a big black car, right? That he had like the metal thing he pushed down on and drove into that van in one of the scenes. He had he armored the car up. That looks exactly like that Punisher car, except with the big engine in the back instead of actually, being a Pontiac GTO. So I think this is a really cool, homage to a different Batmobile, right? They want to sell more toys, Mike, right? They want to sell all sorts of Batmobiles. You want this as like an RC car driving around your apartment?
Oh, geez. I can only imagine that that Hot Toys / Sideshow Collectibles is going to be getting like one of these like very highly accurate cars, and that you can actually put a realistic Batman inside of. So it's going to be a very expensive toy set for somebody out there that's got a lot of expendable income.
But also there's no indicator that it's a Batman mobile. Like, there's no Batman symbol on it. Very nondescript.
Yeah. Like I said, I want to see this in the daylight a little bit more, because it looks like the rear fenders, they kind of flare out. So I think it's just kind of insinuating a cape, or maybe kind of insinuating a Batwing, but everything is very, very subtle for sure. I think this is just a really cool design, because Matt Reeves I believe he's already stated that this is supposed to be Batman in like his second year. Yeah. And yes, you can go read Batman Year One, which I owned at one point in time. I don't think I have it anymore, but it was a really good trade. So Batman Year One was great. But also, we've seen Batman Year One. It was called Batman Begins. It was all about the uprising of Batman on the screen. So I do like this idea of it kind of exploring Batman Year Two, because that does make sense that Batman in his second year, he's gotten most of the kinks worked out. He's probably made the decision, oh yeah, it would be helpful like if I had a car to get around the city with, and not just like, a Lamborghini that I can go out there and buy. I need something that can really adapt to my needs, and something that's maybe not super identifiable. So I'm just going to kind of create this machine from the ground up, put this giant, totally impractical engine in the back that probably gets 5 miles to the gallon, because I got to be able to boogie. I got to be able to get out of these streets. I'm sure there's a grappling hook in there somewhere. There's got to be some other things in there. I'm kind of curious how high tech it goes. I mean, I think everybody over the last week was kind of browsing the history of Batmobiles, and some of the Batmobiles in the past that have looked more car oriented were a little bit more like high techy. I don't remember who created this one, but there was one that kind of looked a little bit like a Porsche that like flew like the car from Back to the Future 2, like the wheels turned down. So I don't think this car is going to be flying, but I'm kind of curious what other high-techy stuff it does.
Yeah, I think, honestly, it looks more, to be honest, more like not as tanky as the Batman Begins era Batmobile, but like, this is a car meant to go fast, and I don't know how many gadgets are in there, but the hood looks like it's hiding some. If there's no engine under that hood, Mike, what is in there?
Oh, yeah, this is the first Batman with a frunk.
Yeah, so it doesn't have anything in the back, but it's got this huge, it looks like a panel that opens up on the front there, right, to do this stuff. And I don't think it's going to be, mind-blowing if it's year two. He hasn't figured everything out yet, but
you know what this car is going to do, Chris? This car has this giant engine in the back. We don't know if anything's in the front. This car is going to pop a wheelie, and it's going to be sick. This is it looks like it's just built to pop wheelies. So,
yeah. Man,
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. This is so cool. And this also makes me just appreciate Batmobiles more in general. I mean, Christopher Nolan doesn't need any more pats on the back for Batman, because he did a great 2/3 job on that Batman trilogy. But he was really, really smart the way that he worked that Tumbler Batmobile into the picture. It's just like, oh, Bruce Wayne Enterprises probably has like a defunct, tank somewhere out in the world that they made one of. Why can't Batman just take that? So I love the creative problem solving when it comes to superhero movies, because you got to find a way to make really impractical things that work well on a page translate to a screen. So this makes sense. If this is a slightly maybe more realistic Batman, gritty Batman, or I guess Batman's always been gritty, but I could totally just see a person making this car. Like you don't need any sort of advanced and Iron Man intelligence to build this type of vehicle,
Right. You just need the guys from the Fast and Furious crew. So that's the next. I expect Vin Diesel to be racing him. Batman lives his life a quarter mile at a time.
I live in a city where on any given commute to work, I could see somebody who's replicated a Back to the Future car, or somebody that's made a Jurassic Park Jeep out here in Los Angeles. So I am crossing my fingers that somewhere within the next year, I'm going to see somebody with this replica Batmobile driving around on the street.
You live in that Walmart commercial from the Super Bowl, where
exactly,
where everyone drives their vehicles up to the grocery pickup. So this is going to be next year's Super Bowl for Walmart ad.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I hate it when I'm right. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're talking about streaming services earlier, but Marvel Future Avengers. Are you familiar with this anime at all? Have you heard of it?
Future Avengers? No.
Okay, so this was an Avengers show that was animated. It was put in Japan. It's an anime. And I think it was like 2017, because I tried to watch this at one point. I'm like, I need to watch all the Marvel shows, right? And apparently they didn't dub it at all, so you can only watch it in Japanese. I don't know if they had subtitles. I didn't look that far back then, but they have now put this on Disney Plus with an English dub, Mike, for the first time. So if you're not into reading your anime and you want to listen to it, I like dubs over subs, Mike. I'm a dubs guy.
Yeah, we're dubbers over here. We're just plebs that could never survive a day in Tokyo, I guess.
Mike is the closest to a weeb we have on the show, so we're gonna do that. But they just did. They had over there. There's a character I think they created for this show called Hurricane. and a couple other ones. But they are, people with powers who are teaming up with the Avengers to stop like Hydra and the Red Skull and, regular stuff. I think they visit Iron Fist and Deadpool at some other points. There's like 26 episodes in this whole show. It's now on Disney Plus, which I thought is a really cool idea for Disney Plus to get these shows that have never streamed anywhere else that are now available and dubbed for our viewing pleasure.
Yeah, it looks like this Hurricane character is like the child protagonist, the way to get the kind of kids into watching it. I'm curious if anybody out there knows, have they done any other anime or Japanese inspired stuff? Because I know DC has dabbled in it, but is this Marvel's first foray?
It is not. I'll tell you, I'm looking at 4 of them right now. So Marvel.
Oh wow!
Marvel did 4 12 episode shows. One was Iron Man, one was X-Men. One was Wolverine and one was Blade.
Yeah. The Wolverine. I those screenshots are kind of slowly rotating through my mind palace right now.
And then they did 2 short movies. One's called Iron Man: Rise of Technovore, and then the other one, which is actually one of my favorite animated shows from Marvel, was Black Widow and Punisher, like Avengers Confidential or something like that. And they had to team up to take down some it was like a street level kind of thing. And it was at the end of it though, when like Captain Marvel shows up, it looks so sick. Like the big heavy hitters show up at the end of that movie.
I'm seeing some Captain Marvel anime screenshots in this Google image search. I'm curious how often over at Marvel or Marvel Animation in general, My Hero Academia comes up in meetings, just because My Hero Academia is just so inspired and just draws from so much comic book lore.
It is the X-Men essentially at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's just all about like superheroes, and they talk about like the Western influence of like the characters in the show all the time, and half of the characters, at least, I don't know how it translates in the Japanese version, but in the English dub, these characters have like extremely American names. Like one of the characters is called like El Torino or something like that. It's like he's this little short old man guy. So yeah, I'm curious if they're just like, we need to make more anime because they're making them over there, and Marvel's not seeing a dime of that.
Well, Marvel hasn't made any animated shows. I mean, other than their TV season of Spider-Man and Avengers right now, and I think Guardians might still be online. I don't know. They've really stopped all the animated stuff. I mean, except for their Disney XD stuff, which has kind of been sad because I have again, you know me, I'm a collector, Mike. They converted a lot of those. What was it? The books to animation for a while there. They did the Iron Man, Extremis, Spider Woman. I'm looking at Thor, Blood and something else. They're right over here, and the Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men. So they took the comic book panels and animated them. That was cool. And then they did, again, we talked about our show, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, all the time on there. They just really stopped. But this is interesting. This show hasn't been off the air for a couple of years, and it's only was an anime. So there's also another show. Have you ever heard of Marvel's Disc Wars?
Disc Wars.
Marvel's Disc Wars.
No.
Okay, so it's essentially like again, 5 kids get these powers, and like they're imagine Digimon but the Avengers kind of thing.
Oh, I can imagine Digimon all day. I was already imagining Digimon before you even brought it up.
Yeah, exactly. So if you could just if you want to do a quick search like Marvel Disc Wars and just take a look at that cover art there, you're like, oh, this is anime like hardcore. And I think they finally brought it over to Disney XD recently, but I mean this is an older show. But I mean, I would play this game.
Oh yeah, I see it. Oh man, Thor's actually got kind of this badass costume going on in Disc Wars. He has like these really like intense shoulder pads. But man, there's this whole like anime Marvel universe that I've just been sleeping on.
Yeah.
What is this? This is like Spider-Man in like Iron Man armor. What am I looking at? Wow. Or he's just really oddly buff because that is a shiny Spider-Man suit.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of stuff going with Disc Wars, and it kind of reminds me of it was made to essentially sell games, I think. Because you have like red disc and blue disc and purple disc, and each one's stronger than the other one. So, these the Avengers are trapped in the discs. So it was just interesting. But there's a whole world of shows out there that we've never even seen. I'm like, Disney Plus, bring them on, put them up here for us. I want to watch this.
Appease us until your next streaming show comes out or next movie because we're really waiting.
Yeah, but the main character of Disc Wars, the only reason I can remember this. The main anime character, the kid, is voiced by the person who voiced Ash Ketchum for like 10 seasons, the first 10 seasons.
Oh.
And a lot of the Avengers voice characters are the people doing the video game next year, Marvel's Avengers. So they like to bring them through this a little bit. So that's enough anime I think for us right now. But in speaking of Asian culture, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is it's got a very thin line to balance between Asian stereotypes and kung fu. But there's a character, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Fang Foom, rumored to make his debut in this movie, Mike.
I mean, I'm down for dragons. So why not?
So he's a green dragon. He's a big green dragon. He changes his form and size. He's from space. He's not really a dragon, but he is in some iterations known to bring the 10 magic rings from the 10 rings on his space vessel to Earth. So I imagine him being used as like dragons in our culture were based on Fang Foom. These 10 rings passed down from him whenever he landed on Earth X number of years ago.
mean, do we think that is the best origin for this character in Shang-Chi? Obviously, we don't know what's going to be the state of the MCU by the time we get to Shang-Chi. But it just seems strange. Okay, we're going to have a character who is martial arts based. As far as we know, he's not going to have any supernatural powers, at least, just from his human body. Who knows? He could get some rings in the future that maybe it enhances him. But it does seem strange to throw in space alien that looks like a dragon into it. Seems like more like however this multiverse thing pans out over the next year or two, maybe this dragon could pop out of a multiverse, or maybe he's just magical. And
we have the idea of aliens visiting Earth over hundreds and thousands of years, right? I mean, Thor and his people can. I would be more accepting an alien space race that happened to look like a dragon and he's not fully a dragon than
the
multiverse.
The only thing is, it just seems kind of strange just because it's just like, just by happenstance, the Asian culture has all of this history of dragons in its past, and this one alien from space lands in our land and then also happens to look like a dragon. It just seems like a lot of coincidences.
It's not that he happens to look like a dragon. Maybe he is the cultural response. Like, he caused the Asian culture to have the dragons. Like, maybe he's thousands of years
okay, all right. You're putting your little rider hat on. I could see that. You're kind of thinking of like the Thor origin of just like, they're always around and we're the reason why you even think dragons exist. But we're actually aliens from a different planet, and I'm coming back to dig up my dead brother, and I'm gonna take his rings and I'm gonna pound your village to oblivion.
Exactly. But there's also the movie said that they're gonna have like a martial arts tournament to like win the rings.
Yeah, I heard that little rumor floating around, and boy, if you grew up with Dragon Ball Z, you love martial arts tournaments because those
grew
things.
Up with it. I'm still living Dragon Ball Z. I sent you a picture of an energy drink yesterday for it.
Yeah, the Spirit Bomb energy drink. I think the show creators of any anime, just in general, love tournaments because I know Yu Yu Hakusho had them, and I think
G Gundam I think was one that was a
tournament. G Gundam had them, and I'm sure there was other animes that had tournament style type of things. I think even Yu-Gi-Oh had a tournament type of idea.
Pokemon's tournament based.
Yes, exactly. And I think anime show creators just love the structure that's embedded in a tournament. They're just like, okay, so we can fill up like the next like 15 episodes with this tournament. So we'll have like half of the acts will just be filled with fighting, and then we'll just put in some sort of like secret, like, we'll have like some sort of like spy organization running around in the locker rooms, like trying to
they don't
like
have to
mess
pick a
with
winner
people.
if something happens before the final match.
Yeah, and it always feels like just before the final match of the tournament, before you're about to get like a legitimate winner to this tournament, some sort of crazy thing happens that totally throws the tournament flips it on its head. Something destroys the ring or something like that. And in any serious world, like the tournament would be canceled and no winner would be founded. But like, technically, since the ring was destroyed, you happened to touch this one rock during the battle, so you're out. I don't know. Tournaments are always fun, so I've seen a lot of people being really excited that there could be a tournament involved.
Well, I'm pretty sure. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. I was talking more about the super fan Jim at C2E2. His daughter's a big My Hero Academia fan, right? Young girls love
they
it.
do.
I'm pretty sure there's a tournament in one of the seasons.
I think they do. I feel like they do a tournament like every other season. So. Okay. It's just great. Everybody loves the structure. They can just imagine the bracket in their head. It's a great way to up the stakes because you know your hero just slowly gets closer and closer to the top. Usually there's like a there's like a top tier character that's like not quite your main hero that like loses like semifinals or they die or something like that.
Everyone loves an underdog story, Mike. And how do you get an underdog? You make a tournament.
Exactly. There you go.
So yeah, I mean,
what we're trying to say is we're here for it.
Yeah, we're here for it. We're down for this. Green dragons, magic rings, martial arts tournaments. If this isn't Mortal Kombat, I don't know what is at this point. So sign this up. Thor: Love and Thunder. We're still getting some news on this. Tessa Thompson has confirmed that Christian Bale is the main villain for this. So I mean, that's not really a big surprise, right? To me, to you?
No, you brought up a really good point really early on in the rumor cycle of Christian Bale that he's probably not going to be a CG character because this is the type of premium actor where you show his face or at least his facial features in a way. Like, you're not going to hide him behind like a horse face like Beta Ray Bill. So, this makes sense. I imagine if this is a villain, what was the
Gore the God Butcher?
God Butcher, like the God Butcher part really stuck in my head because that's like a badass name. But I was like, is it Gar? What is it? It's
Gore. Yeah, Gore. Gorr. And if they're doing the whole idea of there's Thor, there's Jane Foster Thor, and Beta Ray Bill, 3 people with quote unquote godly like powers through their hammers, right, or whatever. This is an opportunity for the God Butcher to appear and be like, no more hammers, kind of thing. But we can see how this turns out. I'm very excited to see this. Hear this. Taika Waititi now he won an Academy Award for Jojo Rabbit,
making a Willy Wonka TV show on Netflix.
Two of them, 2 animated movies. One about the Oompa Loompas, and one like to adapt the show about using slave labor to make your chocolate. So
he's a busy man.
He used Hitler in his last movie. He's really tackling these politically
sensitive issues,
charged issues. So there's that. So Thor: Love and Thunder, moving right along. But what's Thor without Loki? And I don't think Loki's going to show up in Love and Thunder. We've talked about it. We've joked about it. It ain't happening.
He's dead. He's dead,
except for his own show. He's not dead in that. Some new set photos show Detective Loki. It looks like he's just like a regular PI, right, with his tan outfit. He just had a cup of coffee. He's out of donuts, Mike. He needs to go see what's going on this crime scene. And right beside him is mustachioed Owen Wilson in a raincoat. With the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. And this is nothing. The next photo is what I'm here for, Mike. And this is actress Sofia De Martin, right? De Martino. And she is wearing the exact Loki outfit that he wore in Thor: The Dark World. Exactly. I did my research on this because I'm like, man, that looks really familiar. And the metal like half circle under the chest, the green pattern, this is exactly what he wore in that Dark World. So is this a couple things? Is this a female Loki, which is known to be done in the comic books and maybe alternate timelines? Is this an enchantress being like a Loki imposter, possibly? Or something along the ways here. Any ideas from you? You tend to have some out of the ballpark ideas on this stuff. So
well, at first I was totally wrong because I saw, I would say maybe a lower resolution thumbnail of this, and I was like, is that Scarlett Johansson in Wakandan armor? Because that's what it looks like.
That's way off base, but yeah,
at first glance, that's what I thought it was. But then once you kind of cross your eyes and look through the high ISO on this camera, yeah, you can see that's not Scarlett Johansson. That's not Wakandan armor. If it's a female Loki, I mean, we're still trying to figure out how much are we dealing with alternate timelines, how much are we dealing with like alternate dimensions, because if you think about it, it's kind of if there's multiple timelines, I mean, how does a different timeline create a female version of Loki? I suppose that there could be like, did the frost giant's wife get like shook up at some point in time when she was pregnant that changed the sex of the baby? I don't really know exactly what's happening there.
To throw in that in the comic book versions, I mean, this is there is known that he is able to shapeshift and become somebody else, or with the idea of Ragnarok when they're died and reborn, and Odin can force this kind of ability on them. He comes back as like a kid version in one. He comes back as a female version in another. So when Loki is reborn through the Ragnarok process, he can come back as a different form based on his needs. But
yeah, so is this a well-known actress? Do we know if she's got kind of like staying power? Because if this seems like just like a shape-shifting type of thing, it seems like they could have just kind of used like any female actress, or they could have just found somebody to just kind of replicate the female look of a Loki. But if this is a somewhat well-known person, this could be a character that might settle down and might be in the series for at least a few episodes, not just like a scene of like, oh, I'm trying to infiltrate this one area, I need to look like a female instead of a guy.
She's got a huge list of acting credits from 2004 to now. So I think, and her most recent was Into the Badlands, which I think was a pretty well received TV show. So.
Yeah, AMC. So she's probably not just going to be a one-off thing. Right. So this could be an additional character. But yeah, it does make me wonder. I mean, this could kind of start to lean into the idea of, I don't know, I knew that there's the female Thor comic book run where Jane Foster becomes Thor, she's recovering.
But she gets the powers of Thor. Thor still exists.
Does that like heal her of her cancer in the comic books? Or does it just keep it dormant? I don't remember.
When she is Thor, I think it speeds up her human cancer, like when she's in that form, so when she reverts back, she is sicker than she was. The more she used it, the more weaker she got until she was reborn as a vampire.
Okay.
So yeah,
gotcha. So obviously you're looking at a female take on the character there. So that maybe this is kind of their way of doing their female take on Loki. So it makes me wonder, will this version of Loki maybe continue on through the MCU? So maybe we'll still have a Loki kind of mischief god presence, but it'll just be a totally different actor. This could kind of be the first kind of attempt to start to kind of refresh the actors. Well, I guess you'd have a female Loki. Then also if the Scarlett Johansson's sister in Black Widow movie, if she persists, maybe we'll start to kind of see these new versions of the character slowly start to build in front of our very eyes.
Well, it could be. I'm also thinking Sofia de Martino would be a great enchantress dressed up in homage to Loki, who is thought to have died in the Dark World, right? Because he wasn't found out until Ragnarok started years later. So, I mean, maybe she's rampaging around as him, making people pretend Loki's still alive.
No, yeah, that could be it too. And we haven't really, Enchantress is a pretty prominent Thor character that we haven't really seen yet. So it does kind of make sense that we would be seeing her eventually.
Yeah, and especially in something as prominent as the Loki show, because again, sorry to use this again, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, she is doing everything for him to save him from the trapped world he was in season 1. So
yeah, and also, how do you make 4 Thor movies and a whole miniseries for Loki and not bring up Enchantress at all? Like, if she's not going to be in the Loki show, I feel like she's definitely going to pop up in the Thor show.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the two.
Or the Thor movie,
Yeah, there's that. Then lastly, one of the last set photos is showing the Rox cart, which is a bus, an evacuation shuttle. Looks like something's going on here, and then in the back is like a Rox cart, like safe house, it looks like. So Roxxon is going to be again taking a huge presence in this show, which they've been in mostly the Iron Man stuff in the background. Some of the TV shows like Cloak and Dagger, and some of the Netflix shows. So it's cool to see that we have a big evil oil villain in the background hanging out here doing weird stuff. So I'm thinking maybe Phase 3 they pay this Roxxon thing pays off, Mike. Like it's a long term, like a long play.
Yeah. They need some sort of menace. They need some sort of menace in the background to slowly start to grow, because eventually all of our heroes need like a villain to unite against, and a big giant corporation, I would say, is very topical right now for somebody to unite against and take down.
Especially, here's an idea. I'm just pitching this right now. If Roxxon is making alternate superheroes, maybe they're doing the Dark Avengers kind of thing, using their science and money and influence to create these things. So rather than going against a corporation where they just have to go to the board of directors and throw them out a window, a la Shazam, they actually have to fight people that they're making or something like that. I don't know, but it's cool to see some of the Loki set photos, what they're doing with it. So man, I'm excited for these these Disney Plus shows. I'm really excited for those to hit later this year.
Hold on to your butts.
Thank you, Samuel L. Jackson. Speaking of Samuel L. Jackson, he actually might be in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't have this in our notes, but that would be a great place for him to show up, right?
Sam Jackson, I feel like he's got to pop up in a Disney Plus show. I'm sure that's in his contract somewhere.
Well, he's currently off in space, right? So are we going to get the real one, or are we going to get the scroll version.
Ooh, scroll one. Yeah, since now that we know, maybe we can kind of see him start to do kind of weird stuff that he normally wouldn't do, and the characters are just like, "Are you okay, Nick?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I didn't have my coffee this morning."
Yeah, exactly. But another fan favorite character who lived for only like a couple minutes, Batroc the Leaper from the intro of Winter Soldier, could appear in the show as well as a villain.
God. All right, I'm gonna have to Google this one because I have no idea what you're talking about.
No. So in Winter Soldier, Captain America goes like, on the boat, right? In the blue.
Oh, the guy he fights on the boat. Okay.
Yeah. The guy fights in again. Earth's Mightiest Hero. Sorry, he was kind of a joke because he's like a French man who jumps around a lot. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at him right now. This is all flooding back to me.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool, and throwing back references to other Captain America. Not villains, antagonists, really.
Bring him back. Cool. Maybe he's got like electronic boots on that make him jump higher.
That's right. Was he part of the blip or was he not part of the blip, Mike? Does he have experience? 5 years experience over everybody else? We will never know.
I don't know. Maybe he's been leaping. He's been leaping during these 5 years, getting leaping practice.
He is hopping mad at getting.
I mean, actually, out. if you think about it, if half of the security of a jail was blipped, it's probably a lot easier to escape.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least pity on the prisoners. Like, all right. Go back into the world.
Well, actually, I mean, I don't know if he reached the threshold, but that seems like the type of character that may have ended up in the Raft.
Uh-huh.
I want to see more of the Raft, whether it's in a movie or a streaming show. I love prison breaks. I love any sort of story that somebody's trying to escape from like a rigid system. So yeah, give me more of the Raft some way.
That could be a Avengers 5 or 6, man. Imagine like they all have to team up against the Breakout, which would be that's a good one. I like it. Jeremy Renner is back in the gym and I assume bow training for Hawkeye, which is planning to start shooting this summer. I don't know if
does that involve a Bowflex?
Probably not. Probably not. He's just got to pretend to do it. Do you think they digitize the string on the bow? Like he's just pretending.
If they don't. I'm sure he's a strong guy that can beat me up because he has like Hollywood trainers that probably put his muscles in the overdrive, and much like a Savage press, he could probably break my neck. But I got to imagine if the string is on the bow, it's got to be like the lowest pullback possible, because like if anybody's ever picked up like a serious like bow before, the ones that have like all those fancy components on it, those things are hard as hell to pull back. They have like 40, 50, 60 pound drawbacks, and it's just like if it's a real string, it's going to be like zero. It's just got to be super easy for him to finesse it.
Exactly. It's all for show. He's not really firing arrows on that. Let's all be honest. He's not firing trick arrows. It's Jeremy Renner. He's not really Hawkeye. So, but yeah, they're starting to film. I don't know if Haley Steinfeld's involved or not. If they've got her out of her Apple TV contract or not, but. We'll see. We'll probably get in some. If they're not doing the Disney Plus thing with the announcements this month, we'll probably hear some sort of press release soon online that we can read from the safety of our quarantine couches.
Yeah.
She-Hulk is moving right along as well. With some of the reports are that Jennifer Walters, known to be a lawyer before she turns into She-Hulk, will specialize in superheroic law.
So I'm just trying to think of any sort of superhero so far that we've seen in the MCU that would take the time of day to go into a courtroom.
Spider-Man.
But like he's got to keep his identity. Well, I guess his identity's out now, but I don't think we're going to be seeing Peter Parker in the She-Hulk show. But yeah, I like this idea. It makes sense that if our real world had superheroes, there would be a kind of a unique way that you'd have to approach the law.
Well, they also did, what was that in the whole point of Civil War was the
Sokovia Accord.
Yeah, so if there are people out there inspired by superheroes, not necessarily superheroes, but inspired by them to do vigilantism, they'd probably have to figure out how do we handle these people.
Yeah. Maybe some bad guys are getting really low sentences or kind of getting off entirely because the whole reason that they ended up in custody was like a vigilante. Spider-Man didn't read me my rights when he strung me up above a lamppost. That was cruel and unusual punishment. I was left dangling for 14 hours upside down. Like I blacked out and I lost all my toes because the blood rushed from them. I don't know. But yeah, I could see maybe she's just like, no, we got to button this up because all these bad guys are getting out on technicalities.
Yeah. And, what does that look like? I mean, we all saw Endgame, How many superheroes were in that battle at the end there? Way too many to count. They're gonna need a lawyer for something. Maybe they didn't pay the bills.
There's lots of liability damages that has to be paid.
Someone's moved into their house after the blip, Mike. They need a lawyer to help them evict those people from their rightful property.
Can you imagine that poor State Farm rep that repped the Avengers compound? He just like shows up the next day with like his little digital camera, like they take pictures for his for his report, and he's just like, oh man, I'm glad your deductible was so high.
Is this classified as an act of God or not? I don't know.
Yeah, is this
Thor
a
was
force
here.
of nature?
Yeah. So there's some opportunity for fun here. Probably, I assume it's going to be very comedic, light toned, and she's not going to be green the whole time. I assume. Guardians of the Galaxy characters Drax and Mantis are known for their lighthearted comedic touches in the second movie. And James Gunn, out of nowhere, apparently said that a Drax and Mantis movie has not been ruled out yet. Now, let me be honest. Let me be straightforward with you, Mike. Here, this isn't going to happen.
No,
it's not a hard no, but it ain't happening.
Yeah, if you start following James Gunn on social media, like I've been telling you every single week to do, he really just like leans into the fans, and I think he just kind of like cynically likes just kind of messing with people, just because like he'll often post screenshots of his DMs, and there are some people out there that are crazy. There's like one person that was like spamming him over and over again that said like fix Star Mora or Lord Mora, like whatever pet name for the couple of Star-Lord and Gamora. So there's just like crazy rabid people out there that are just like way too invested in James Gunn's life. So I think he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to tell him there could be this movie. It'll just be funny to see what article gets written after saying it.
Exactly. We're going to stoke the fire a little bit and see what happens. So that's why we're talking about it, because someone made a big deal out of this.
He's been like reposting and sharing pictures from the Suicide Squad set, and he's reshared a couple of the stunt team's pictures. So there's like a legitimate like stunt team there. They've been doing lots of practical effects, and the logo, I really love the logo work for the Suicide Squad movie. It's very much leaning into like the kind of like the classic comic book version of the Suicide Squad, and they got these really badass kind of like patches that went on hats. So like I want to get me one of them Suicide Squad patches. They're really cool looking.
Yeah, and then that's I think that's the production's wrapped on that, or at least the primary production.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sure they're into the editing phase, which is really where you really find the movie. So
yeah, and then they will eventually do reshoots. Nobody panic. They're gonna do reshoots and they'll figure it out. So I mean, I think that's coming up. It's not this year, is it? Oh man,
I think it's early. Is it early next year? I don't. Well, if only there was a resource, Chris, where all of the superhero releases were on one page with no ads and simple text
Suicide
format.
Squad's August of 2021. Yeah, WB takes like a year and a half to edit a movie, like longer than it does to film it. So I don't know what's going on with them, but yeah. It's next year. And I just need to pull this up before every episode going forward, because I'm going to use it all the time.
Yep, superheroslate.com. Click on upcoming releases, and we got a nice little tool there for you.
Exactly. Speaking of upcoming releases, Mike, one of our next few review episodes is going to be New Mutants, coming out April 3rd, and it was just classified with a PG-13 rating, of course, to hit a larger market so they can recoup some money on this. And the film post-production has been complete, per director Josh Boone, so it is now in the distributor's hands to make this happen in a month.
Yep, I've seen a couple little kind of social media cuts of like trailers, like trying to get people hyped. Some people like so I can start to see the social media marketing team kind of whip up over this movie. So it's just strange to see it kind of getting any promotion at all. So it's the biggest question mark for this entire year for me right now is New Mutants. Yeah. So I'm excited that it's going to be out very soon.
I saw my first commercial on Hulu the other day for it. Normally during those times I get on my phone, look at something, but it was playing. I'm like, oh, that's the music from New Mutants. And because it's like Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're actually, they are using the 30-day window to, pump up a little bit. I assume tickets are going to go on sale within the next week or two. I'm gonna hit it up on a Thursday. I'm excited. I want to see what's going on with this. We've heard about it for years now. It's time to finally to watch it and then see how fast it comes on Disney Plus. Probably very quickly. The other movie that's not on our list, Mike, that I want to talk to you about that we should probably think about looking is Bloodshot, the Valiant Comics character, right? comes out next week, next Friday.
Speaking of social media advertising, I saw one put together for this movie that showed up in my Instagram feed that has like this digital overlay of like a computer screen that's like searching like in a Google-esque window, and they type in Bloodshot and then they show like the autocomplete, and the autocomplete was like Bloodshot coming out March 13. Bloodshot, the hit comic book series. Bloodshot, get tickets now. So it's just kind of this subtle way. I think they're trying to remind people, hey, Bloodshot is a comic book movie. It's not just this random thing that was invented up. If you've never heard of Bloodshot before, it's already been established on the comic book pages. You should probably come and see it. So you can kind of see there's a little bit of a education window that they're trying to get people connected with.
I think I got none of those autocompletes, Mike. I'm very disappointed in my Google right now.
You mean they're not real?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure.
You mean when you search Bloodshot, it doesn't autocomplete to the hit comic book series?
It didn't. And actually, I tried very much.
Man, I really want to look up Bloodshot, the hit comic book series. I better type in hit comic book series so I get the right Bloodshot comic and not the other Bloodshot
best Bloodshot. Well, there is another video where they had Jason David Frank play this on like that web series that went over very, very poorly. I'm trying to figure out. We said this is rated R, right? I'm not seeing any ratings on a quick Wikipedia page. Am I missing this?
I mean, I feel like at this state of cinema, we never really know what's rated R anymore.
Yeah.
All I know is Deadpool. Deadpool has to be rated R because there's lots of swearing.
Yeah, rated PG-13. So now I'm less excited for this. If he's gonna have abilities where nanorobots put his body back together live, at least I guess maybe because it's not blood, it's robots. They can make it PG-13, but I don't think we're gonna see anything cool in this. But I'm gonna go watch it next week, Mike. I'm put it on my thing. It's my birthday weekend before my birthday next week, so I'm gonna treat myself to watching somebody's Bloodshot.
All right,
I'm defeated. Lastly, back to the top of the show, things that have been canceled because of COVID-19 virus. James Bond, No Time to Die, has moved its April 2nd, 10th, whatever country you live in, release date all the way to November 12th by 7 full months.
Yep,
and
that makes sense.
And it's mostly because Europe is just starting to lock down a lot more quarantine stuff. A lot of people are not going to the movies. They're going to take a hit moving this movie to November. However, it's less of a hit than if they let it go in April.
Well, it's funny because we've said on the show before, we're not huge Bond fans, so we don't track the franchise that much. But I do remember at least a few of the Daniel Craig Bond movies did come out in November. The only reason I remember is, like you just mentioned, your birthday in March. I have a birthday in November, so usually there's a film, usually some sort of big film that comes out around my birthday. And I do remember several Bond movies, at the very least, Casino Royale came out in November. So this could be like a logical decision of just like, well, if we can't position it like pre-summer, spring, if you will, let's just move it back to November when we used to show these movies anyway. So maybe this is kind of like the first hint from Hollywood saying that just like we're just going to do our best to avoid the summer months, because it seems like hopefully by the end of the summer this whole crisis will have toned down. So I mean, this could be a really bad year for just the movie industry in general. I mean, we had a bad year a couple years ago. There wasn't really anything stemming from it, but there was all those headlines of just like, oh, lowest box office year ever. But when people really dove into like the releases, it was just there was nothing invigorating that was coming out. And I think it was like an off year for Disney too, where like there was no Avengers movie. I mean, there was probably a Marvel movie in that year.
The only year they had 2 movies, probably.
Yeah, I want to say maybe it was 2018 or 2017 I'm thinking of. It was recently, but it's obvious everybody can kind of blame it on one specific event. So hopefully by the time the summer is over, we can kind of just move on with our lives and get back to it.
Which is sad because the movie's done. I'm like, just put it on digital. I'd buy it. I'd watch it. I'd rent it at home.
Yeah, we don't want to go out. We don't want to go outside.
Yeah, we really don't want to do that either. And also, this year, looking at our list of films we have upcoming, there's really not a lot for us, right? I mean, Marvel has Black Widow and Eternals, which is right before this. 2 of the things are Disney Plus shows. Venom 2 and Morbius really, really gonna pump the box office numbers up with this Morbius movie, right? Venom 2 might. Venom 1 hit $1 billion, so the sequel might. And Wonder Woman 84, like, there's nothing going on, like. Now they push some stuff back that I kind of want to watch on my own.
I mean, they all could possibly be very good movies, but usually when summer comes around, you're looking for something kind of big and fantastic, some sort of crossover you've never seen before, some sort of new addition to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Wonder Woman 2 will be good. Yeah. It'll be great, but I mean, we're thinking like bombastic here. When I think summer, I think bombastic, and I guess maybe the next Fast movie, but I think the next Fast movie, that's going to be pre-summer, isn't it? I think they were shooting for spring, unless that gets pushed.
Fast 9, right? 9 Fast, 9 Furious.
Yeah,
May 22nd. So
that's basically summer there. So I wonder if they're thinking about possibly moving that too. But
I doubt
it. Stay subscribed, stay updated. We'll let you know.
And on that note, Marvel said they're not moving Black Widow. So be prepared for that May 1st, regardless. I just don't think there's a lot of movies that are like, we need to cover those this year for once. It's been a while since we've had a year where I'm like, 2015 I think was our lowest year for reviews. So we'll take a look at it. Mike, that's the show. We got stuff to do. We got weekends to counter. We lost an hour this weekend. I don't know what's happening. So let's get out of here and have a good one. If people know what you're up to, where can they find you at?
All you got to do is follow me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, see how those blacklight installations are going, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. And they're not blacklights or UV lights. Mike, get them right. And you can also head over to Comic UI or whatever you want to do. People know more about our show, where we can listen to these reviews, maybe get ready for New Mutants or Bloodshot, whatever they want to do. Where can they find us at?
All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find the avenues that we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to check out those pictures of the Batmobile, if you want to see that Justice League trailer, if you want to see those Loki set photos, which will be a little harder to track down, hit up our show notes. You can check that out. And we got our awesome upcoming releases page. So if you're confused like us, who track this stuff every week and you can't figure out when all these movies are coming out or when they get postponed and moved, head on over to our upcoming releases page on the website. It'll just be very easy to parse through that information. I really like it. We use it as a tool and we love it. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please stay safe. If you are a child or an elderly person, you are more vulnerable to viruses and sickness in general. So just live like the streamers of the current day and age and just stay on your couch, sit down and watch something. Watch Lock and Key. If you haven't watched Lock and Key on Netflix, that's good. Go watch Castlevania if you haven't seen that yet. The first season's really short. It'll get you addicted. And then you can stroll right into seasons 2 and 3. So if you're watching Castlevania, you're awesome and I like you. We love our super fans of the show, so if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week.
Yeah, including next week, and we will see you then.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Are you gonna wing your intro?
Oh, yeah, as always. Now, I don't care. I don't even know what we're talking about. We're just going to do it.